Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is your man Thatch the Great checking in once again. Let's get straight to it. You see it. Actually, no, you don't see it. Let me go ahead and put this damn banner up. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Will Diddy go free or go to prison? That is the topic today. Or should I say that's the topic tonight? Will he go free or will he go to prison? As y'all know from what's going on right now, we are finally getting to the conclusion of this whole extremely long trial that is the Diddy trial. And we've had some extremely interesting developments within the last couple of days. And I'm actually going to play a couple of videos here. But I'm just wondering if this guy is actually going to go free or not. I never thought I would say that. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, if you would ask me what's Diddy's most likely outcome from this trial, if I were a betting man, I would say that Diddy was probably going to do a substantial amount of time just from what appeared to be a boatload of evidence that was against him. But now, I don't know. The way that this entire trial has gone thus far, the crazy, bizarre developments that we've seen week after week, I'm just not so sure of that anymore. And with what just happened in the last 2 days, makes it all the more interesting. And I'm going to start with one video here. Let's start with a video. I'll play 2 videos. Let's start with a video about Diddy when he was finally allowed to speak for himself briefly. And I'm not even going to talk. Let's just get to the video. Let's get it.
Combs himself. The prosecution and defense officially rested their cases in the Sean Combs criminal trial. The defense even tried to get all the charges thrown out before the jury even deliberates. And we hear from Sean Combs himself in open court about whether he will testify. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor, their case. Court convictions on these final witness. After that concluded, the defense then argued under Rule 29 of the Federal Rules of Evidence that Combs is entitled to a judgment of acquittal, meaning there was nothing for the jury to decide. They should not be handed the case. There is insufficient evidence to support convictions on these charges. Fascinating arguments made by the defense. We're going to talk about them. And then from there, we heard the defense's case, and it was really, really short. The defense rested their case. So both sides rested their case. Oh, and by the way, how could I forget this? Sean Combs made a decision on whether or not he will testify. Spoke in open court. Actually, complimented the judge, by the way, believe it or not. So we're going to get into everything that happened today. A lot happened today. A lot to get into. Let me bring back on to Sidebar, Law and Crime's in-court reporter, Elizabeth Milner. Elizabeth.
Actually, that's a lot longer than I was anticipating. I won't have time to sit here and look at that whole thing. But basically, guys, just to give you a synopsis before I play the other video. Basically, yesterday in court, instead of the defense calling any actual witnesses of their own, they shocked everyone by saying that they rest their case. They did not call any witnesses to the stand whatsoever. They are just going to rest on the laurels of the case that has been presented and built from a defense standpoint for Diddy, which simply is saying that, look, guys, we're not denying the fact that Diddy is a monster. We're not denying that. However, and let me go back. Did y'all see this right here? Where is it at? Did y'all see that picture? Whoever is the damn court artist, he needs to get fired. I don't know who the fuck that is. That ain't Diddy though. But anyways, they are shocking everyone with their strategy of absolutely bringing no witnesses. So the prosecution spent weeks with all their witnesses, with all of their character witnesses and things of that nature. And all of those witnesses all were pretty consistent. I mean, they said that Diddy was a freak, but one thing that they could not really prove is the fact that he is some kind of irascible monster, which is the whole point of the entire trial in order to build that RICO. So it's very interesting that they have no witnesses that they're calling to the stand. And I think it's actually a brilliant legal strategy, because I think at this point, if they call more witnesses, all they could do is muddy the waters. And I think due to the fact that the prosecution was unable to prove their case without a shadow of a doubt and without reasonable doubt, that's what led to what I'm about to show you now, And let's go ahead and go to TMZ as far as what just developed within the last few hours. This is extremely interesting, guys. So let's go to that next video, which I have set up right here. Give me 1 second. Let me remove this one from the stage. Stop that one. Let's bring this one up. And all right, here we go. This is the video that's going to explain to you what happened today as far as Diddy's charges. Unbelievable shit. Things that you would never have anticipated just maybe a month or two ago are just happening out of the blue. So here we go. And I'll share that screen and let's play this video. Can you guys see it? I think you can. All right, here we go.
Give the jury their instructions.
Being free and instruct judge will be Monday. Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So the prosecution in the Diddy case, they are winding up now, closing arguments tomorrow and Friday. The jury gets the case probably Monday. So the prosecution just filed paperwork today, actually in the form of a letter to the judge, saying that they wanted to simplify the jury instructions per the judge's instructions. And what they're doing is they're streamlining things, that there are charges.
Pay close attention to the verbiage that's being used here. They all of a sudden want to streamline things for the jury. In other words, they are lessening the charges that they are looking for Diddy to be charged with. But let's continue.
Charges alleging kidnapping, arson, that's the Kid Cudi case. They are alleging aiding and abetting in sex trafficking. They are slimming that all down so that they're not going to kind of overburden and overwhelm the jury.
They're saying
with
that,
instructions.
Right. They're saying that to the judge, that when you give the jury their instructions, just leave out the attempted kidnapping, leave out attempted arson, aiding and abetting.
They're saying there's no actual kidnapping.
Yes.
Actual arson.
Leaving out the kidnapping, the aiding and abetting. So they're saying all of a sudden, you know what? I know Kid Cudi testified that he set his car on fire, but let's leave that out, Judge. I know we said all this other stuff, but let's leave that out because it's going to confuse the jury. All of a sudden, they wanted to try to trump up all these charges, and now all of a sudden, now that they can see that they did a piss poor job of proving their case as prosecutors, now they're trying to last minute streamline the charges for the jury just so they could possibly get one that really does stick. That's why they're doing this. But let's continue.
And those things, the counts, the charges still remain. They're just saying there's no reason in the jury instructions to tell them about the attempted kidnapping.
And Charles, I'll tell you why. Because
actual
attempted means you failed or didn't go through with it. They're alleging it was gone through with. So why bother calling it an attempt as well?
Right. And they're just trying to, because the jury is going to have, there are so many, because there are 4 counts and because one of them is a RICO count that has so many underlying alleged crimes, they just want to simplify this so that the jury, when they get their instructions, know.
So legal schmiegel. Let's talk about what really matters.
Hold on. I want to say that I know what you want to get to, and we should, but this also plays into that because this is going to be a very complicated thing for the jury to look at. And they are potentially going to be under a bit of a time crunch.
So it looks like each side is going to take a day. So tomorrow, Thursday, there will be a prosecution's closing argument. Friday, the defense's closing argument. And then the judge is going to give instructions to the jury, which may take a couple hours.
Because of what we just talked about.
So realistically,
I guarantee you that judge wants to get this all concluded and packed up before the 4th of July. Guarantee that. Within the next few days, we are going to get a verdict in this case.
The jury's going to start deliberating on Monday.
Right.
So you got
they might have an hour or so late on Friday.
Or they may do it. We don't know. They may do it on Friday, depending. They may do it. But the jury's probably going to start deliberating in earnest on Monday. The reality here, folks, is that if you've talked to your friends, you know, some people say, oh, he's guilty on everything. He's guilty on nothing. I don't see the RICO charge, but I do see the Mann Act charge. So my gut tells me, and I don't try to guess juries, but they're not going to all agree right out of the gate. Right. So there's going to be debate and, going over evidence and talking. So Monday goes in.
Remember, there are 28 days of testimony, and they're going to go over a lot of.
No, remember, in O.J. Simpson, there was 9 months, but they came in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it really.
Well, so that was.
It really just depends. But I think Monday is going to bleed into Tuesday.
Do y'all think he's going to prison? I'm just curious. I mean, initially, I'm going to continue playing the rest of this video, but I must say that if you would have asked me 2 months ago what was going to happen, I would have said you were crazy if you thought that Diddy was going to get anything less than 10 years. Anything less, because it just seemed like there were so many charges, so many angles that they could come at him with to actually get him. And the prosecution has done such a piss poor job, like I stated earlier, as far as actually proving these things, as far as the RICO, which was supposed to be their trump card. They've done such a piss poor job of actually doing that. I'm beginning to wonder if this dude is going to do any time. What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
Day, and then if you get into Wednesday, there's an issue.
Now things start tightening up.
Yeah, they're really up against the clock because Friday's July 4th, Thursday's July 3rd. Do they want to come in on Thursday?
Well, Thursday the courts are closed.
Or do they want to get it done on Wednesday?
And not only that, there's a court holiday. So court is closed on July 3rd and 4th. That is Thursday and Friday. So what's the best way to get to consensus on Wednesday? The looming idea that you will be dragged into court through a skeletal staff that Judge Subramanian can say, I'm going to open up just the jury room. I'm going to have a skeletal staff come in on a holiday, and you guys are going to continue deliberating. That's going to drive consensus in that jury room to say, hey, I got plans. I want to see some fireworks. You better all get on board.
You can listen to Derek and, based on his record, say, look, he's a doofus. But in this case, he's
it's true, but we don't say it out loud like that.
In this case, he is actually right that experientially.
What y'all think? What's y'all thoughts, man? Is Diddy going down or is he going to go free? What you think?
Suddenly reach a consensus.
Suddenly I have clarity. You know what? All the 28 days of testimony, I've been seeing it crystal clear.
Well, not just that, but not just that. But you may have an 11-1 split or a 10-2 split on one of the counts, and those
pressure
two,
on those
and
holdouts.
the pressure on those two. They may have family picnics, they may have family parties, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At a point, I know that sounds trivial and crazy, but there is that kind of
in the back
pressure.
Okay. First and foremost, they just hypothesized that there might be a 10-2 split, 11-1 split. I don't believe that. I know it may sound crazy, but I think that there's going to be a lot more contention in that jury room than people anticipate. I think there's possibly 3-4 people, maybe even 5, who feel like Diddy should go free because the prosecution has not done a good enough job of actually proving that he has done anything that pertains to the actual things that they are actually charging him with. And remember, that's what the entire premise of this video is. And matter of fact, there's one other video I want to play here as far as what developed earlier today. So let me pull that up because I want you to get the full context and the full scope of what is going on right now. As far as this Diddy trial completely falling apart from a prosecution standpoint last minute. So here we go. I'm going to go to one more video here, guys. Here we go. All right, let me change it up. Let me switch the video. Let's remove that one from the screen. I'm going to add this other one. Remove that from the screen. Stop it. Bear with me here. We do it live. Let's see. Here we go. Share that. Can you see it? I believe you can. All right, here we go, guys. This is the other video I want you to see. And let's do it.
Celebrity Dish News. With you now with some breaking Celebrity Dish News. Prosecutors have dropped some charges against Diddy. Joining us now is TMZ executive producer Harvey Levin with the latest late breaking details. I mean, Harvey, I can't get through your story here fast enough. What's the latest?
Okay, it's a little bit confusing, Marissa, but let me explain. The prosecution sent a letter to the judge saying that.
And why are y'all so damn quiet out there? Is Diddy going to prison or not? It's a simple question. Is he going or not? What makes you think that he is? What makes you think that he isn't? It's simple.
The judge had asked prosecutors and defense to streamline the proposed jury instructions. The prosecution is saying, okay, so let's eliminate attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. So now the question, what does that mean? We know the arson relates to Diddy allegedly blowing up Kid Cudi's car in a fit of jealousy, the fact that Kid Cudi had dated Cassie. So it would seem that they're saying, we're just not going to pursue that when it comes to giving the jury instructions, because the jury never directly tied Diddy to the actual arson of the car. Now, they do mention the word attempt.
All right, just in case you guys aren't following, and as I hypothesized earlier, I think the reason that they are all of a sudden dropping charges is because they know that they have not done a good job as far as actually proving their case. So you don't want to make it a situation where you put so many things up against the wall and you're just hoping something sticks, and then the jury can tell that you haven't actually made anything stick. The last thing you want to do is have that situation where the jury can say, they didn't prove this, they didn't prove that, they didn't prove that. You know what? I don't think they proved anything as far as what we're actually charging Diddy with. So I think we have no other option other than to say that they did not prove their case and we got to let them go free. So I think the prosecution would much rather take a little bit instead of getting nothing at all. That is what my belief is. That's my hypothesis. I think that they know that they did not do a very good job. And the defense has really done their thing. Diddy had a dream team of defense lawyers, and they really did an outstanding job throughout this entire trial. And I am no advocate for Diddy, let's be clear. But I'm just giving his defense team the props that they deserve for providing Diddy with an extremely competent, extremely effective defense. But let's keep going.
So I suppose you can make the argument that they're going to not say he attempted it, he actually did it. But that doesn't make sense, because all they said in the testimony was that they believe he did it. And it went on fire, so it was done. So it seems like they're eliminating that. And similarly, when it comes to kidnapping, you may remember that there was testimony by Capricorn Clark, Diddy's assistant, saying that Diddy suspected her of stealing jewelry. They took her, put her in a warehouse and gave her lie detector tests, and putting her in that warehouse was kidnapping. It seems they're not going to pursue that. And there was a second one involving this alleged victim, Jane. So it seems they're taking certain things off the table, but I got to be honest with you, the letter's a little bit confusing, but it definitely seems the prosecution is pulling back on what they are going to argue to the jury in closing argument.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the aiding and abetting with the sex trafficking, that charge is still there, but they're pulling back on even some of those details.
Correct.
And my guess is what they're pulling back on are things like Diddy's assistant booking a hotel room. I mean, that's booking a hotel room. Travago is not sex trafficking. and just booking a hotel room is not really evidence of sex trafficking. So I'm guessing it's things like that they might be pulling back on.
It definitely appears as if the prosecution have found some weak spots in their case, potentially, and that's why they're giving the jury those instructions, before making their closing arguments. Thank you so much, Harvey. I know this was breaking news that you all have provided us with, and we'll certainly stay in the know as we continue to cover the outcome of this case.
And there you have it. There you have it. I mean, there you have it. I mean, you saw in the video there. What we had today, basically, in case you're joining late, what happened today is that the prosecution decided that they were going to drop several of the charges, specifically in regards to the RICO, in regards to aiding and abetting, in regards to arson as well. So there's all of these things, like I was saying, that they tried to throw up against the wall. They said, listen, if we throw all this shit up against the wall, we're definitely going to get Diddy on something. But what they did not anticipate is the fact that they would do such a terrible job of actually having the evidence necessary to prove their case. And that's the thing. Although we all can say that Diddy might be guilty in the court of public opinion, the court of law is a little bit different. The court of law works a little bit differently. You actually have to prove your case, especially when you're the prosecutor. So as you guys saw earlier, they are dropping charges like crazy last minute, seeing as the defense surprisingly rested their case yesterday without even calling one witness to the stand. They say, so that what the defense is doing by doing that is they're saying the prosecution did our job for us. They didn't prove anything. They didn't prove a goddamn thing. So why would we even bring any witnesses to the stand when y'all have already done it for us? You have shown us more so that there's reasonable doubt that Diddy is actually guilty of all the stuff that you're trying to charge him with. So with that being said, we rest our case. We're not going to call a single material witness to the stand. That is what the defense did And it was a surprising but an extremely bold and I think a smart strategy. What do you think? I mean, if there's nothing to gain other than possibly putting your foot in your mouth or possibly having someone get on that stand to say something that would be detrimental to your case if you're Diddy, I think it only makes sense for them to simply rest their case and simply let the chips fall where they may at this point. Your defense team, if you're Diddy, has done an exceptional job of pretty much bobbing and weaving with the punches. And all that we've gotten at this point, as far as this trial is concerned, guys, in case you haven't been paying attention, the only thing that we have really found out throughout this entire trial is the fact that Diddy is a freak. He's a freak ass boy. We already know that. He's a wild ass dude. Wild ass dude who loves some very questionable, shall we say, sexual things. He has some very unusual and, might I say, gay sexual proclivities, as far as having random dudes bust all over his old girl, bust all over his chick, and then he gets her to come keep all of that shit on her, and then he plays in it and puts it on his nipples, all kinds of wild ass shit. Shit that no straight man would do. Can we all agree with that? No straight man is going to do that. I can't confirm with 100% certainty whether or not Diddy is gay, but one thing I can confirm for damn sure is that he is certainly not straight. That is one thing I can confirm with 100% assurance and certainty. The things that we have heard about Diddy. And here's the thing, the cat's out the bag. So I think to an extent, Diddy might even feel a bit of a catharsis and release from the fact that all of this dirt has come out. So now he doesn't even have to hide anymore. Now he can just live his life, which is cool. But some of that shit is just crazy that we heard over the course of the last month or two, right? Anyways, back to the whole point here. Do I think that Diddy's actually going to go to prison, or do I think that he is going to find some way to weasel his way out of this entire scenario? Well, as you saw in the videos there, the prosecution obviously is beginning to feel the pressure. They're beginning to see that they didn't do the job that they needed to do in order to prove their case. So they're dropping charges now. They're just trying to streamline it down to a select few charges that they're going to keep and what they're going to reiterate in their closing arguments to the jury. So I think there is absolutely, I would say, if we had to put a percentage as far as probability, I would say Diddy has literally, I mean, you tell me what you think, but I think Diddy has a 50-50 chance of going completely free, just due to the fact that the prosecution did not thoroughly and substantially prove their case as far as the things that they are trying to charge him with. And that's the thing. We all saw that video with him stumping Cassie's ears together and kicking her around like a goddamn kickball. We all saw that video, and we all were sickened by it, right? And him dragging her up and down the damn corridor, right? We all saw it. We were all sickened by it. But here's the thing. He's actually not on trial for that. We all know that Diddy is a fucking abusive monster. We all know that, but that's not what he's on trial for. Keep that in mind. So when it comes to whether or not I think that he's actually going to be convicted and actually had to do any real time behind bars, I think the one that ironically he has the hardest chance of beating is the one about transportation of certain people in order to have sexual acts or something like that. I don't know the exact charge, so you gotta forgive me for that. But there's this one that is like really weird, and I think they might actually get him for that one. And that one has like a max sentence of like 10 years. But you know, if they sentence him to 10, he'll probably do maybe 1 to 2 tops. And that's assuming that he doesn't get your boy Big T, Donald Trump, to go ahead and give him a pardon, which I absolutely do think will happen in the event that Diddy is actually sentenced to go to prison. I think Donald Trump will step in and pardon Diddy because they have a lot of previous history together. And I could definitely see that happening in this bizarro clown world that we're currently living in with Trump in office. I could absolutely see Trump pardoning Diddy if and when he's actually sentenced to go to prison, because they have a long-standing friendship behind the scenes. It could happen. It could happen. I know it sounds far-fetched, but guys, trust me, it's not as far-fetched as you might think, as far as the things that these people do behind that veil So that's my hypothesis. I'm not sure what you guys think. Hey, baby, hold on, my friend. I'll be done in just a second. Give Daddy 1 second. All right. Well, Daddy, time for me to get back on Daddy duty. So I'm gonna holler at y'all. Let me know in the comments what you think. Decision, man. That's great. I'll holler. Peace.